The RPM Friction Pro costs $250 and serves at the top of the power charts while playing soft and controlled, and that combination is rare. Most paddles with top-tier serve speeds also trampoline balls long when you're trying to reset. The RPM Friction Pro series doesn't do that, and after spending a couple of months testing all 4 production models against the Joola Perseus, Scorpius, Thrive Fury, and others, I need to explain what's actually happening here. Full disclosure, RPM sent me these paddles to test. No money changed hands. I'm not obligated to say anything, and these are my honest impressions. They retail for $249, but you can save 15% with code MPB, which gives me a small kickback to support this channel. RPM originally sent me the blackout models, and I held this review until I had enough time on the production models to confirm they play exactly the same, and they do. The early blackout paddles had some USAP approval issues that have since been resolved, so what you're seeing now is USAP approved and matches what you'll actually buy. The core question, can a Gen 3 construction with serious dwell time deliver power and spin numbers that compete with paddles that play like trampolines? Let's find out. The Friction Pro isn't reinventing Gen 3 construction, but it is reinventing what it's like to play with one. Through experimentation, RPM figured out how to keep everything people love about Gen 3, the dwell, the feel, the control, while pushing power and spin numbers into the territory Gen 3 paddles aren't supposed to reach. Or are they? Floating polypropylene core that runs through the throat into the handle, thick foam perimeter ring, internal foam layer, and masses of ultra-high density EVA foam in the throat at 5 and 7 o'clock to drag the sweet spot lower and kill vibration. The face consists of 3 layers of carbon fiber with texture that starts near the legal limit. Newer batchers have sharper, more durable grit than early runs. What this construction is trying to do, keep the ball in the face longer than full foam Gen 4 paddles, give you linear power return instead of exponential trampoline, and create a usable contact zone that includes the lower part of the face where most paddles die. The result plays softer and more controlled than the spec suggests, but the specs are not soft. RPM ships the Friction Pro in 4 builds: elongated 16mm, elongated 14mm, widebody 16mm, and widebody 14mm. Here's what my measurements show. The elongated 16mm comes in at 7.96 ounces static weight with 117.8 swing weight, 6.15 twist weight, and a balance point of 24.4 centimeters. This is the heaviest swinging paddle in the line with the highest balance point. However, the static and swing weight are right in what I'd call the sweet spot zone. Those are very good numbers. The elongated 14mm weighs 7.77 ounces with 113.75 swing weight, 5.95 twist weight, and a balance point at 24.3 centimeters. Slightly lighter, slightly faster, same elongated reach. Also good numbers with a slightly less optimal twist weight, but nothing a little weight on the sides can't solve. The widebody 16mm is the heaviest at 8.03 ounces with 111.2 swing weight, 7.25 twist weight, and a balance point at 23.9 centimeters. Highest twist weight, most stable platform in the family. Those are fantastic numbers. The widebody 14mm weighs 7.87 ounces with 108.35 swing weight, 6.95 twist weight, and a balance point at 23.6 centimeters. Lowest swing weight with very high twist weight, which makes it the fast hands option. Also very, very good numbers, but I found a little weight on the sides helped a ton to get that twist weight above 7 and increase stability. The elongated builds have longer balance points and higher swing weights. You get more leverage, more reach, and a more planted feel through contact. The widebody builds trade some swing weight for more twist weight and a bigger usable face, especially on blocks and counters. Now here's where the performance data gets interesting. The elongated 14mm hits 61.3 miles per hour serve speed at the 96th percentile. Punch volleys come in at 39.2 miles per hour, 89th percentile. Spin measures 2,253 RPM at the 68th percentile with a firepower score of 93. The elongated 16mm pushes 61.5 miles per hour serve speed at the 98th percentile. Punch volley hits 39 miles per hour at the 82nd percentile. Spin measures 2,296 RPM at the 88th percentile with a firepower score of 90. The widebody 14mm serves at 60.9 miles per hour, 89th percentile. Punch volley reaches 39.6 miles per hour at the 97th percentile. Spin comes in at 2,281 RPM, 80th percentile, with a firepower score of 93. And the widebody 16mm hits 61.2 miles per hour serve speed at the 95th percentile. Punch volley measures at 39.3 miles per hour at the 92nd percentile. Spin reaches 2,303 RPM at the 90th percentile for a firepower score of 93. These are power paddle numbers. Anything pushing 61 miles per hour with firepower scores in the low 90s and percentiles above 89 is hitting a very heavy ball. The elongated 16mm sits at the 98th percentile for serve speed, and that's the top end output. But here's what separates this from something like the Flick F1 or 6.0 Black Opal, more chaotic Gen 4 rockets. The power is linear, not exponential. When you swing harder, the ball goes faster, but it doesn't suddenly jump from controllable to 10 feet out if you catch the wrong part of the face. It plays more like a loaded Gen 3 paddle than a trampoline. The punch volley numbers tell you about hand speed. The Widebody 14mm hits 39.6 miles per hour with a 97th percentile rating. That's really good pop for a paddle that doesn't play like a brick. The Widebody 16mm and elongated 14mm both sit in the 89 to 92nd percentile range for pop. The elongated 16mm sits slightly lower, which tracks with what you notice on the court. It's a little more soaked up in short contact than its raw power suggests. Spin sits around 2,250 to 2,300 RPM across the line, with some models hitting 88 to 90th percentile. The face texture combines with Gen 3 dwell to produce genuine late movement. The ball keeps rotating hard after the bounce, not just on initial contact. I started with the elongated 16mm because the specs suggested it would be the most balanced option. High serve speed, good spin, softer 16mm core for resets. First session confirmed the power and control immediately. Serves that should clip the baseline dip in. Drives aim just inside the line, pulled down with top speed instead of sailing. The sweet spot in the center plays distinctly soft, like the paddle draws the ball in, then lets it go with a sharp crack. But here's what I didn't expect. The lower part of the face still works. On the Joola Pro IV, if you catch it too low near the throat, you get a dead response. The RPM keeps producing depth even when you're an inch or two below center. The ultra-high density EVA foam masses in the throat aren't marketing. You can feel where they extend the usable zone. However, catch the ball really low left or right, and it does die off quickly. Resets and third shots are where this paddle separates from other powerful options. The soft center makes absorbing pace almost automatic. You're not fighting the paddle to take speed off. I switched to the elongated 14mm next. Same neighborhood of power, but the face plays quicker and crisper. The sweet spot relationship flips somewhat too. Stiffer upper region, softer lower region. This makes it more demanding for off-center touch. It wants clean contact in the heart of the face, but then again, what paddle doesn't? Pop at the net is excellent. Speed-ups and counters come off fast and heavy. But the 14mm is less forgiving on resets if you're slightly off-center. I added some weight at the 3 and 9 o'clock positions to widen the sweet spot, and that helped quite a bit. That settled the face and improved the consistency without killing the offensive output. Both 16mm models are very playable out of the box, but I think the 14mm builds really benefit from added weight to play their best. The Widebody 16mm plays like Scorpius with less unpredictability. Very high spin, very high pop, excellent serve speed with top-tier twist weight. It's the most stable paddle in the family. In hand battles where you're catching balls toward the edges, this one saves you more often. The sweet spot behavior blends into a more laterally stable platform. Resets are straightforward. Touch shots work because the face response is so linear, so there's no big gap between too soft and too hot. The Widebody 14mm is the fast hands option with the lowest swing weight. It plays surprisingly powerful for its profile. Firepower score and serve numbers confirm you're not giving up much in stock form. This is the standout for maneuverability. Low swing weight with high twist weight. Perfect for hand battles, counters, and active defense. Like the elongated 14mm, this one benefits from some weight to maximize its potential, but I kept it light with just a thin overgrip to preserve the fast swing profile. I played the RPM Friction Pro against the Joola Pro IV Perseus, Scorpius, Thrive Fury, and 11624 Alpha Pro Power, and there's a lot to understand where these sit in the market. Versus the Joola Pro IV, the RPM borrows the floating core idea and that foam in the throat. The construction and shapes are nearly identical, and some people have called this a Pro 4 knockoff, but here's the thing. The RPM tones down the trampoline and stiff feel that the Pro 4 has. The Pro 4 has a more aggressive pop curve and can launch balls long when you catch it just right or wrong. RPM holds a more linear energy response while matching or exceeding spin. When the so-called knockoff plays more controlled and forgiving than the original, I don't think that's copying, I think that's improvement. Versus the Thrive Fury, which sits in the more poppy side, the RPM plays less poppy with more consistent soft game control while still being extremely powerful. The defining characteristic across all four models is this: High spin, high power, Gen 3 family that plays softer and more controlled than the spec sheet suggests, with a soft game ceiling that most power paddles never touch. At $249, the RPM Friction Pro sits in the same price tier as Joola's top-end models and other premium Gen 3 constructions. With code MPB, you can save 15%. I do think this is a legitimate Paddle of the Year candidate and the best Gen 3 paddle I've played this year. The RPM sits in a narrow band. Players who want serious power and spin but refuse to give up soft game control and dwell. That's not a huge segment, but if you're in it, this is one of the best options available right now. So if you want more power and don't care about soft game control, go with the Flick F1 or 6-0 Black Opal. They hit harder on full swings, yes, but offer smaller sweet spots and less forgiveness. Want similar power or even more pop and less dwell? Look at the Thrive Fury or Enhanced Duo or Bread and Butter Loco. They're denser and poppier, but resets are harder. Yes, we're talking Gen 3 and into the Gen 4 space. Want maximum stability in a wide body with less power? Look at the Vatic Pro Prism. It's softer and more controlled, but doesn't reach this power class. Want elongated reach with a firmer feel? Perseus Pro 4 is crisper and similar power, but the RPM has better spin and easier resets. Okay, so if you've decided RPM is the right platform for you, here's which model to get. If hand speed and quick counters are your priority, get the Widebody 14mm. If you want maximum stability and forgiveness, get the Widebody 16mm. If you need reach and attack with heavy topspin, get the Elongated 16mm. If you're a high-skill player who wants maximum offense and can handle a demanding paddle, get the Elongated 14mm. The RPM Friction Pro delivers on its core promise: Gen 3 dwell and feel with power and spin numbers that match paddles twice as lively. The Widebody 16mm is the best all-around option for players who value stability and forgiveness. So that's it. That's the RPM Friction Pro Series review. If you like power but hate unpredictability, give this series a look. I recommend these paddles if you're in that narrow band of players who want aggressive specs with forgiving play. Skip this if you want maximum raw power without modification, or if you prefer the muted feel of Gen 4 full foam constructions. Remember, you can grab these for 15% off with code MPB. If you've used any of the RPM Friction Pro models, let me know how they compare to what you're playing now. Hit that like button if this was helpful, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.